He is nuts and clearly disturbed. The Standard. He's angry, Vanity Fair. His own family hates him. The New York Post. He sounds like he's transmitting from another galaxy. He is so crazy, the New York Post. Kennedy is a humorless bully living in a paranoid fantasy, Vanity Fair. What the is wrong with Bobby Kennedy? Okay. He's a walking, talking conspiracy theory, the New York Times. He's completely divorced from reality, The Guardian. He is vile, the White House. Being with him was the low point of my summer, Vanity Fair. Bobby Kennedy speaks with a croaking, rasping, painful-sounding voice. His vague explanation is that it's a virus, but more likely it is a crack pipe voice. The Standard. Kennedy is a crank, the New York Times. He is a crank, the New York Times. He's a crank who cranks out whoppers the way Taylor Swift disgorges perfect pop songs, the New York Times. He has conversations with dead people, The Guardian. I wouldn't vote for that guy either.
You're most likely going to have 3 choices for president on your ballot in November. This guy, and this guy. I realize you probably heard a lot of bad stuff about him these last few years. But what if the bad stuff you've heard wasn't even true? And what if there's a whole lot more to him than you even knew?
This pipeline is not going to benefit the American people.
I would urge you not to accept the shackles of courtroom monopoly.
We're being given this land so that we can build cities on a hill. Our civilization will be judged by future generations.
Either way, let's start with some irrefutable facts. This is Bobby Kennedy. This is Bobby Kennedy in 1962. This is his dad. This is his uncle. And this is his other uncle. He was born in 1954. He grew up in Virginia and Cape Cod. He has 7 kids. This is his wife, Cheryl. Yes, she's that Cheryl. He's an attorney. He's won hundreds of cases against companies like Monsanto, Mobil, Massey Energy, Dow Chemical, and a bunch of other big polluters. He's a surfer. He's a falconer. He's a rock climber. He's a river rafter. He's a hunter. He's an outdoorsman. He was a heroin addict and an alcoholic. He's been sober for decades. His voice sounds weird. That's because he has spasmodic dysphonia. It's a neurological disorder that can affect the voice and speech. He can do 25 pull-ups in one go. I can do 3. He's 70 years old, and he's running for president as an independent.
Joe, why do you think Bobby's running for president?
I think he feels like this is what he's supposed to do. He has a calling.
Who lives there?
That's my mom.
Can you talk about some of the values you learned as a kid from your uncle and your father that you're taking with you on this campaign?
Well, we had a duty, they felt, make America exemplary for the rest of the world. I think the major issues that my uncle and father were interested in this country was keeping the country out of war, and then the civil rights, honest government. Those were the principal themes of his administration, and that was all in a woman with the basic Catholic church values that we learned in catechism, which was just honesty, integrity, courage, the golden rule, being kind to other people, being kind to people, even those who you don't like. While optimistic about the potential for our country to still live up to its ideals. It used to be that the Democratic Party opposed censorship. It was the Democratic Party that wanted to rein in the military. It was the Democratic Party that fought corporate influence government, which is why Wall Street and the big corporations supported Republicans. Well, now that's all changed. Right now, big oil funds the Republicans, big tech funds the Democrats, big pharma and the military contractors make sure to donate to both. Who is liberal now and who's conservative? Who's left and who's right? These labels make less and less sense. I've been fighting corporate corruption for 40 years. I know how they work. I know how to clean them up. And that's why I'm running for president, and it's why I'm running as an independent. I think the country can be recovered and restored and can become a moral authority again in the world. This is what I want. And I'm going to work as hard as I can to make that happen. I started out my life wanting to be a veterinarian or a scientist, and my dad encouraged that. There was no pressure in our family to go into politics or public service. When he died, I felt kind of an obligation to pick up the torch that he had dropped. And so I changed my career trajectory to align it more with his.
I think everybody in my family really feels that a lot of my father's goals and ideals are worth pursuing.
And I ended up going to Harvard, which my dad did, and I went to the University of Virginia and became a lawyer and went into the DA's office, which was all very much aligned with my father's path. But I wasn't meant for that space, and I think partially my addiction was a reaction to that misalignment. I was doing things in my life that I was not intended to do. When I got sober, I reassessed my life and said, I've got to get back to what I wanted to do myself, which was something to do with the outdoors. And so I went to work as an attorney for fishermen on the Hudson River, suing polluters.
This is a pipe from the Putnam County Community Hospital sewage treatment plant
That had contaminated the river and were destroying their livelihoods and their industry and their property value and their lives. And it made me happy to work for them. Everything that has happened in my life has led me to where I am right now. The deaths, the tragedies, the addiction, the recovery, finding a deep belief in God. It's immodest to say those things. Running for president is inherently immodest. I believe now that I am uniquely positioned to tackle the problems that our country is facing.
In his decades-long battle to prevent big corporations from harming people, the wilderness, and our waterways, he was kind of like Aaron Brockovich.